Well, hi, my name is Andy Erickson. I'm the Vice President of Trusted Critical Infrastructure, the Solution Architecture team at CCI. Been with the company about 8 years, and really excited to, talk about this partnership with FRSecure today and ongoing. Really, it's something that we've started over the last 12 or so months, and really have had some great success. And I'm really excited to kind of bring that to life and bring the art of the possible, I guess, to our customers. I feel that one of the big draws between the companies was, mission statement, kind of focus, and really trust. I look at, our purpose, our why is really to enable the pursuit of full potential. And that really kind of mapped right back to FRSecure of, fixing a broken industry, like truly helping people. A lot of the offerings that we're calling the red team activities of, let's say, a risk assessment or a virtual CISO pen test, things of that nature, kind of showing what's out there, and then leveraging our blue team activity to kind of really help remediate and put the hands to the keyboard and start fixing, right?
Yeah, I think from an FRSecure perspective, I'm John Harmon. I'm the president of FRSecure, and I got involved pretty early on with the CCI partnership. And I think what really attracted us to CCI as a partner, because it's not normal usually for us to have partners of this depth and to kind of move this fast through the solution finding. And I really liked your guys' attitude of, following your mission, following your core values first, and really coming to kind of agreement on that. And because that makes all the rest of it possible. But, we have this mission of fixing a broken industry. And as we've seen more ransomware attacks, as we've seen, more heavily regulated industries being targeted specifically, we need to be more complete in our solution that we're bringing to our clients. And I think CCI fills that really well. I think we see in our industry a lot of technology providers who are trying to fit their clients in a particular box, right? And that isn't always appropriate, especially when you're talking about security and the need to, provide the kind of services that, prevent those horrible things from happening, or at least make them less impactful and less frequent.
That's it. The security industry, in my mind, is noisy. There's a lot of vendors and things of that nature. So it's like, well, where do you start? And I think I think one of the bigger values I think that CCI can help bring to our clients is just kind of helping demystify that a little bit, and saying, these guys are best in the world on in security because of things of certifications or going to DEF CON and placing high, and that just shows that it's not just talking the talk, but you can walk the walk, which I think at some point separates the players from not. So
it's like, we're security experts. We're not trying to be IT infrastructure people. We're not trying to help people through the roadmap of managing their IT and their business strategy around that in a better way. We want to be security experts. We want to help in that way. And I think, it's a good marriage in that regard, because we can bring our particular expertises together and bring that whole solution. That's going to be, we can no longer separate those things anymore. It used to be compliance and security and all those kinds of things were separate from the business or from the IT strategy, and they're all one now. There are ways that you're making us better by us internalizing some technology knowledge and just having exposure to your clients. And I hope likewise, right, as we're working together, the more you know about what we do and the more knowledge that we can impart and absorb, I think the better off we're all going to be.
Absolutely. That ties right back to why people buy or work with FRSecure or CCI. Really, they do buy or work with people they trust, and people buy from people. And I think that's we don't want to be ones that just kind of come in, do a solution or a project and then leave. We want to be there, really for the long run, and provide business value after that initial project, and make sure that again, that full pursuit of full potential is achieved throughout the life cycle of that project. So
yeah, and I mean our philosophy is pretty simple, right? People have to like you, they have to trust you, they have to think you're credible, and I think you guys have certainly checked all those boxes as we work together, and it's been enjoyable.
Yeah, and they know they need to do something, but they're like, I don't know. If I have a risk assessment as an example come in, that might make me look bad as a IT operator. And I think the balance and approach is proper. This is not really meant to expose the flaws of a given administrator or whatever. It's really just, hey, it is what it is. Let's fix it and we'll help.
Yeah, and sometimes it even serves as a validation of good practices, which is always great. You feel like you're doing the right things, but how do you really know? How do you measure that? And it works pretty well for that. But also, for these smaller companies and smaller shops, or maybe ones that are, especially in our current times, everybody's working from home, budgets are crunched, all these things. How do I always know that I'm working on the next most important thing? That I'm getting my, biggest bang for my buck on what I'm working on, and not just assuming it, right? So we can measure that together and make sure we provide the most effective solution.
We invested X on this project or this initiative over the last year, and we have made progress. And sometimes it's always tough to show that in security. Hey, I bought this firewall, or I bought this endpoint protection, or I bought this thing. But how do I know that it's providing value back to the business? So I think that's one thing that we've seen from our customers, our clients, that they've gravitated towards that and embraced it, candidly. So
yeah, and it's a wonderful thing to enable each other to, like, okay, where are we, right? And from our client's perspective, where should they be, and then how long and how much is it going to cost to get there? It's a very simple thing in theory, but in practice, it can be a little confusing or convoluted. Who's responsible for what, and where do I find the help, and all of that. So it's been nice to simplify that and have a partner that can really jump in and do just about anything that isn't limited by, any, business practices or technology limitations or whatever that is. We've been very thankful that when we call on you guys, it's kind of an attitude of, well, we'll figure it out. Yeah. Right? Like, let's just get in there and let's do what's best for the customer. And it goes a long way. And it certainly builds those kind of relationships with our clients that we really like to have as well.
Absolutely. Well, one thing I'm excited about is just even in the last 6 months, we've had a lot more conversations on the virtual CISO offer, and have really brought that and unified that to our clients. And I think that is really, if I were to forecast the next 6 or 12 months on the impact for those clients that are walking down that path, I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be quite good, because I think the leadership in that role, holistically, mapping it back to business value and things of that nature, I think is something some of our clients, just haven't had on staff, because it is really, some of the rural markets that we serve, or even the more urban side, it's tough to keep somebody in that seat for very long, because they're wanted, and that's just the reality, and rightfully so. But I'm really intrigued by the fruit that'll really bring, and we're having more conversations with other clients about that as well, as far as what that looks like holistically. It's not like, hey, we just bought a firewall and our, magically everything's all fixed. It's much, much more than that. So
yeah, you got to get to that GUI center as well, right? The outer shell is usually pretty good, but.
Yeah.
And speaking from a security industry perspective, to your point, depending on, which inputs you take, there's probably 1 million or so security professionals, tried and true in the country. And there's like 3 million job openings, right? It's just hard to find good security professionals. And, most of the clients that we're working with today can't afford to have somebody full time, and even if they did, there's really not enough to keep them busy full time, right? It's a wonderful thing to be able to step in from that virtual chief security officer perspective and help where needed, and not break the budget, and provide those kind of resources. And also, unfortunately, I think our fastest growing practice right now is incident response. I mean, that's been a real problem, I would say, especially since COVID hit, and before that as well. But we've seen growth in that sector. Unfortunately, we'd rather work on this preventative stuff, but we have to be there when things happen. So really boning up on things like incident response planning, preparedness for when an incident happens. Do you have that right relationship? Do you know who to call? Unfortunately as well, we've seen the FBI start to identify some of these ransomwares as funding for terrorism. with international terrorism, which is a very big deal. I think we all assume that this is sometimes people just looking for money to profit, but ultimately they're using that money for some very nefarious things. And we're getting to the point now where some of those ransoms you're not able to pay because by law that's funding terrorism. And that's a difficult thing to deal with if you're not prepared for that incident. You're kind of backed in a corner where you have to pay. So we're walking people through those types of scenarios now, walking through scenarios where insurance may not be as prepared to deal with certain scenarios. Maybe there's limitations in policy coverage, a misunderstanding about whose role is what. So, I think the virtual CISO is a good starting place to have those conversations, but ultimately, I think we're going to see more of those conversations started post-incident, and that's going to be, something that we need to work together on because that's a very complicated and very emotional and very tiresome exercise to go through. Everybody's day becomes about that incident, right? And there's technical things to untie. There's governance things to untie. There's people that are all involved and that we need to make sure they understand the roles. There's all these resources that we need to leverage. And if I'm making predictions, I unfortunately think that we're going to see a lot more of that this year.
It's even on like the network or the compute or the infrastructure parts and pieces. It's not just one thing; it's multiple things, and I think that's where we scale quite well is just the depth and breadth from our architecture team to our field team. We've a lot of the probably most everybody's came from an operator or they've ran a network themselves for typically probably 10, 15 years. They're quite seasoned. They probably haven't seen everything, but they've seen most. And a lot. And they've been in the outage situations where something is down or maybe there was a breach, and they can relate. And sometimes unless you experience it yourself, it's hard to grasp what happens. Yeah. And then, so I think that's one thing that's interesting as well from a partnership.
Well, it's those hints or that commitment to, yes, we always need to be learning and gaining knowledge, right? But that wisdom usually comes from experience. So having the type of experience we do on our respective teams has borne a lot of fruit just from, hey, having been there, done it, seen it a million times. How can I, bring those solutions, bring that calming voice as we're going through this to, let you know that the outcome here is expected because we've been there and we know how it's going to end. That's a great thing. A couple of things that we're constantly kind of battling or trying to get people to move toward. Number one is just fundamentals, right? I think with all of the talk of higher technology, I'm hearing a lot about machine learning, quantum computing, all of these buzzwords out in the industry, and that's wonderful. But we still are struggling with things like asset management, right? So I don't know what hardware, software, data assets I have. So how am I going to apply those technologies if I don't know where to apply them? It's just those basic fundamental, type of things that we're seeing. That's certainly an issue. The talent shortage continues to be a problem. You mentioned the CISSP mentor program. We're expecting, north of 5,000 students this year for that training, and it's totally free, which is wonderful, but we need 50,000, we need 500,000. This is something that's I think going to continue to be a strain on the industry. It's just the lack of qualified and interested professionals, and I think also there is still a tendency for folks who don't speak this language to think of it as more binary. We're secure or we're not. Right? It's on or it's off. It's yes or it's no. And that moving that conversation towards more a risk-based approach where it's on a spectrum, right? There's at some point you can only be so secure. There is no such thing as 100%, and making people feel okay with that and having a way to measure that makes them feel comfortable is still something that we're battling.
Absolutely. Some of the bigger networking jobs that we're doing is, they want, certain types of automation or certain, one pane of glass for management and things of that nature. And some of that stuff really, it's pie in the sky. And you talk about the fundamentals of network segmentation as an example, commonly overlooked.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, that tends to be the gotcha, right? It's never... the master hacker dismantling some, software. It's somebody forgot to change a password, somebody left RDP open to the internet, somebody just made a mistake, right? It's always those small oversights that are usually caused by those lack of fundamentals or just basic IT hygiene and some of those things. So yeah, I'm always hesitant to offer any, advice to anybody without having further context, but usually that's on the list, right? Just have that basic IT hygiene. Make sure you got a good partner in your corner that is watching your back on the fundamentals, and then let's build from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really intrigued where this partnership's going to go. I think we're just on the front edge, and I think as we continue down this journey, there's going to be new things that we'll add to the truck or new capabilities as we're always trying to evolve and grow. And I would imagine that the same is on your side of the house as well. And I think really the fun part of it is how we can work together and have just candid conversations, and it goes back to trust and swim lanes and really respect for one another. And you definitely it's well earned and deserved on the CCI side of FRSecure, and we really look forward to where this thing will go. So
yeah, likewise, proof is in the pudding, and our interactions thus far and the work that we've done together has been very positive. It's always a good experience for our team and for your team and for our clients most of all. So looking forward to just more of that. That's always a good time.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.